everyone, welcome. My name is Gisela Pérez de Acha. I'm a human rights lawyer and investigative reporter, specializing in social media verification, extremism, and cybersecurity. And I want to talk today about how we can ideologically approach keeping ourselves safe online, from a feminist perspective, but also from a very practical perspective, some tips and tricks that you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me start by dispelling some of the very common myths of cybersecurity. Myth number one, hackers look like this. That is not true. Hackers do not look like this. This is not what we do. And I count myself amongst them. Number two, we are data. Everything we do, everything we think, everything we say, we're definitely, all our online and offline lines are intertwined with technology at this point. So anything that has to do with our physical and our online realities are completely intertwined. And the myth goes that the offline is the real world and the online does not exist or does not transcend. In this sense, we are all cyborgs. I love this GIF, I love this image, and I love the theory behind it. It's inspired by Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto. And cyborgs, this is a really avant-garde text that Donna Haraway, as a feminist in the 80s, wrote, and she uses the metaphor of the cyborgs as a rhetorical recourse to explore the boundaries within technology and to explore the responsibility that we have with technology. I really, really recommend everyone interested to read it, because she also poses a very different solution, a very different techno-utopia, absolutely outside of the normative Silicon Valley white bro paradigm that now took over our technology, and you could even argue broke several democracies, not only in the United States, but across the world. She imagines cyborgs as human beings that are totally intervened by technology. And just think about the food that we eat, or think about eating an Advil or taking an Advil. All of that, the food that we eat, from GMOs to the medicines that we consume, all of that is technology, and it influences our body from dating a really long time. Myth number three, now that we have established that we're hackers and cyborgs, the way that I like to look at cybersecurity is from the perspective of cyber self-defense, what we call a cyber self-defense. And this is something that I teach a lot at UC Berkeley, where I currently work, and my students love it because it's not only, like, I don't know, every time that I hear the word cybersecurity, it's like this scary concept that we should all get away from. But actually, it's just empowering yourself so that you know what you're actually doing, and so that you're able to navigate the online environment in a more confident way. Back when I was working in Mexico, we used to host a lot of feminist a lot of feminist self-defense workshops. And it was just really crazy to see how people, even your body changes when you know that you can punch someone in the face, or that you don't need a lot of strength to get away from a potential attacker or predator who might be even bigger than you. And this is a concept that I want to rescue with cyber self-defense. It's sort of like even using our weaknesses to our advantage. And this is where Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto and feminist methodology comes in. One of my dear, dear mentors, Alexa Koenig from the Human Rights Center, she came up, and Andrea Lampros, they came up with this framework of Cybersecurity, it's not only the online life, but it will have impact in your resiliency, in your psychosocial security. It will also have impact on your physical body. I don't know if anyone has ever gotten a phishing attempt or an email that threatens to release all your public information if you don't comply or send certain amount of Bitcoin. So the way that I envision cybersecurity and the way that we teach it at the Human Rights Center and the Journalism School at UC Berkeley is just take it from a holistic perspective. You really want to have your cybersecurity in place so that you can protect yourself and do your work better. I'm an investigative reporter. I work on extremism issues in the United States, and many of you probably know by now, it's not a very pretty topic. So I know that if my cybersecurity is in place, I will be able to just do my work better and not worry about potential threats that I could get. So I never understand when people say I have nothing to hide. This is a photo that I took in downtown Oakland, and not protecting yourself is like not having blinds on your apartment. Maybe you're not hiding anything. I'm not saying this woman has a dead body or is selling drugs inside of her apartment, but I just like having blinds. I don't like being observed from the street. And I think privacy more and more is becoming a really important, even commodity. Recently with the WhatsApp migration, when we heard that WhatsApp was just this downer, and they were thinking about selling our certain data about ourselves to Facebook, who we know they've used for political purposes. It's not only a commodity, but a value that in our democracies is being increasingly taken into consideration. In this context, vulnerability is a word that cybersecurity experts use a lot. It's uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure. We're all vulnerable. So how do we protect ourselves? You're not alone. That's what I'm here to tell you. We're all in this together, and we all feel that we must do something about it. So in this context, security is not only self-care, but it's also community care, because we are only as strong as our weakest link. If they get our weakest link, they're able to get our entire community. So that's why by supporting each other and taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves, we're stronger together. So we normally think about cybersecurity being a two-for-one deal for open source investigators. I'm not going to go through that as of right now. But I did want to share a couple of tips and tricks of what you can specifically do. First of all, breathe. And second of all, we usually go through this entire thing called risk assessment. And one important thing to share in that regard is that, where's my presentation? Right here. What is the likelihood? You have to ask yourself, what is the information that I have that someone else might want? What is the likelihood of something bad happening? And I love this meme. My colleague Steve Trush made it, but it's just, we don't want you to be the paranoid cat with the tinfoil hat, but rather the empowered, badass investigator that is just going down potentially dangerous rabbit holes, which are no longer dangerous for us, given the very robust training that we have. So that said, let me go through some of the very basics. One of them is, please don't have a sad password. We do not do sad passwords. Sad passwords are not cool. If you visit this website, howsecureismypassword.net, also don't put your password in any random website, because that could very well be a hacker or a malicious government if you're an activist. But this is a really interesting service that will just tell you how long would it take a computer to get into your email and social media. Having strong passwords is just about increasing the time that anyone who wants your information would invest in actually getting to that information. Get a password manager. I highly recommend having a password manager. There's some cybersecurity discussions about, like trusting them. But definitely LastPass and 1Password are one of my favorites. You want to decrease it. It's very cumbersome to have to change all your passwords. But if you have the same password for absolutely everything, if you get hacked once, or if there's a data breach once, or if your data gets leaked on the dark web once, you're pretty much screwed. Everything else will probably and potentially be accessed by whoever wants your information at that moment. Multi-factor authentication, aka two-step verification. Whenever you can, use your phone number, validate your identity within the services and social media that you use, just in case you have a sad password and someone wants to get into your accounts. Then you get a push notification or another email, or I even use a really cool thing that I don't have handy right now, but it's YubiKey. So it's a little piece of hardware that, like a key, just goes into my computer. Block cookies and ads on Firefox and Chrome. These three are definitely something that you will thank me for, because not only it stops tracking your cookies, but you'll also be able to browse the internet without ads. And that is so life-changing. So Privacy Badger is run by this amazing organization, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. uBlock Origin, and the next is HTTPS Everywhere. HTTPS, it's just a more secure protocol for the internet, just to avoid any potential people or agents that are peeking into your information to actually see what you're browsing. Very important when you're an investigative reporter on extremism issues, but it's also very important when you're a feminist anywhere else in the world. And finally, separate your working environment. I always try to encourage my students and the people that I work with to use a certain browser. I use Chrome for work, and I use Firefox for all my personal things. It's always good to not let both those things mix, not only for digital hygiene, think about like brushing your teeth every day, but also because you will decrease a lot of unnecessary risk. So that's it. That's my very quick presentation on what you can do to keep yourself more safe from a feminist perspective. And please hit me up on Twitter. And thank you so much for watching this. And I hope you stay safe.